Welcome back. Right, we're going to go through some of the options that you can do with Advada, and hopefully at this stage you've actually already designed a logo and you've got your color scheme in mind and you've got yourself a good graphics person that's managed to chop up all your logos to the right size requirements. So what we're going to do now, if you're on your website, we'll go into the website so you can see first. So under Advada, you can actually access it from the top up here now, and you see global options. There's only a couple of things I really want to help you with so you understand why they're a necessity. I haven't registered this version in case you're wondering, but I'm going to flip through to my live version of my website. But I just want you to go down to and click on logo. And first, we are going to run through the other settings, but in the meantime, I want you to make sure your logo is centered. I want you to set all these back to 0, which is just the padding. I've got 10. So 0, 0, and then 10 px means pixels from the top, so it's not hard up against each other. All right, and it says logo background on or off. It's going to be off. And then we're going to come down here. It's got logo customization link. That's if you wanted it, when somebody clicks on your logo, where do you want it to go? Naturally, it will go back to the home page, but in case you want it going back somewhere, that's what that field is for. Right, so your default logo, I'm going to remove the one that they've got there currently, should be 1,000 pixels wide. So what I've done is I've actually chopped up all my logos, and I've also called my logo my name. So the default logo, my main logo, is going to be called Danny hyphenated DeHeck. So Danny DeHeck. And it's a PNG, which means it will have most PNGs have a clear background. So upload that. Now when you upload these files, you really should make sure you have them named correctly. So I'm going to, for the title, Danny DeHeck and Danny DeHeck. And that's my main logo. So that should, the file name should read the same, and the alt text and the title should be the same. So that's very important. If you search Danny DeHeck, you'll see that my logo dominates. So that's uploaded. So if you're looking at your website on an iPad Pro, it'll be high resolution. So they want you to upload a logo which is twice the size of your default logo. So let's go get one of those. And for this one, I've actually made it 2,000 pixels wide. In case you don't know what a pixel is, every inch on your screen has a dot, and 72 dots is in an inch on a screen. So when you have something that's 2,000 pixels wide, it's kind of give you an idea how wide that is. So if you were printing and you held up a business card, they have 300 dots per inch, and that's where the dots come into it. So this particular logo is 2,000 pixels wide. So if you've got your calculator out and divide it by 72, you can see the physical size on the screen. I hope that made sense, because it is quite confusing. So once again, I'm uploading my logo. I'm just going to copy the Danny DeHeck from the other. So I don't want Danny DeHeck large, because if I search for that, you'll find it comes up in the search engine. So once again, everything to do with my logo is Danny DeHeck. And now I have a large logo and the standard size default one. Now, sticky head logo and mobile logo, I don't use those. You don't actually need them, and it's for different parts. So just leave those as they are. And now we're going to go to the favicon. Now these can be confusing. So first of all, they tell you that the favicon. Now the favicon is actually, if you go up to the very top, you can see that my global options, and next to it there's a picture of the globe. And if you go to the next tab here, which is my other website, you can see a very dark little image, and that's what these little wee favicon icons are designed to do. So if you're on somebody's website and you decided that say if you're on your iPad and you decide to bookmark that, it will grab these images and make them display nicely. So what you need to do is, when you design your logo, you need to come up with a nice square or perfectly round, squarish image that you can chuck something in there that you can kind of see when it's really tiny. So if you have a close look at my website, you'll see what I mean. So the first one, it says is it says the Apple iPad icon. So upload that, and it wants it at 152 pixels by 152 pixels. So I go away and I grab that, and I've already pre-cut them up. And I'm not bothering to name these files, but that's the physical size of it there. So that's one. Oops, and now it's popped up and it said for the Retina version of the iPad, I need one that is now 167 pixels. So when you've got your website developer, if he knows anything about this, he will basically provide you all these images, or if you have Photoshop, you'll need to chop them up yourself. And once again, if you need a hand with doing that, let me know. I'm happy to help. I'm not going to leave you in the lurch. So now I'm looking for one that's 120 pixels, and I upload that one, select, and now it tells me it needs one that's 180 pixels. So I go back, and every time I develop a website, I'm always doing this, and that's why when I'm looking at somebody's logo, I'm thinking, can I chop this up and use all parts of it? Now, the only one that I wouldn't recommend doing is they tell you that you can upload a 32 or a 64. And just before I did this video, I thought, oh, I'll upload my existing website with a 64 image, but it wouldn't work. So I've gone back to using the 32 image. Now, let's have a look. So now I've got that, and I'm going to save all those images. And now I'm going to go to the website, and that should tell the web browser to grab that image. I'm not even sure where it gets that information from, but hopefully I've done it right. In a minute, you see it's going around, it's looking for the images, and it's pulling that in, and it's doing nothing, it's driving me crazy. Oh, there we go. And now you can see instead of the globe, I have a little icon, and it's trying to load it. I don't know why it's taking so long, probably because I'm doing a video. And that is loaded, and it's still circling. Maybe it's, I think it caches all those logos, so it's probably grabbing them all one at a time. Seems to be taking friggin' ages. Anyway, I think you get the point. Right, so now what I'm going to do, I'm going to run through the other settings. Now this is probably the longest part of of my whole workshop, is this particular video. So I'm going to go through my existing website, and I recommend that you put me on a large screen and you pause the video when you catch up. Now my settings are my personal preference, and I've spent ages redoing them, and I'm quite happy with my particular setup. I've just noticed that is now stopped, and you can see my logo looks ugly and all the color scheme is shocking. However, we have all the colors ready to go. So the first thing we're going to do is look at the layout. Now my recommendation is that you make this a wide website, 100% wide, because when you're looking at this on any device, you're going to get the full version of your website. Now, page padding, we do want it to, because if you have a look, oh, I don't want to start doing and explaining and justifying everything I'm doing, I think you need to have some blind faith with me. But you can see that when it's loading, you come down here and you can see the width between the video and all my other stuff. It's asking me what these gaps and spaces and what around from the left to right here, all the bits and pieces that I personally want. So I've put 40. And I do that because when I need a little gap, I use 20, and it all looks geometrical. Right, so width padding, 30 pixels. Now, notice if you write 30 in there, you can see it actually has default settings. But just stroke my ego and listen to me. 30 pixels. Now, some of these are default, so you won't need to change them. This one's 24%, so that will be a percentage of the width on an iPad, iPhone, and it'll work it out mathematically beautifully. Gutter, 30%. And then it's got a couple of other settings down here that I don't think I've ever touched in my life. So now we're going back to responsive. So responsive means when you're on your mobile phone or you're on your iPad, where do you want the website to start concertining down into a mobile format? Now, I don't think I've ever changed these, but if in case I have, mine is set to 1000. Header responsive breakpoint 800, site content 800, see the pattern, 800, and then on a small screen, so that's the very old, my first computer was an SX 25, I think it was it SX 25, I can't even remember what it was now, but that used to have a 6x40 screen. So have a look at these, pause these if you need to. let's carry on. Right, the colors. Now, the primary color of your website, and it will be used throughout the rest of the theme. Now, that color looks like black on this screen, but it is actually the same color of my logo. So you want to pick out all these colors and grab them. And along here, you can pick some of the default Advata colors if you need to. But just leave them as they are. I think the dark, it's asking me whether I want a dark theme or a light theme, and if you click those two buttons and press save, it will overwrite all the work you've done. So try to keep it as default as we can. Header, here we go. Right, so there's many different types of headers available in Advata. Now remember, Advata have a lot of help files, and something I haven't told you not to do at the start is don't install one of the demo themes, because it will go through there and you'll have to delete a lot of the images that it puts in your image area, and it will just be a nightmare to if you do that. So we're building our design from scratch, and we're not using an imported theme. So the one that I use is this one here, and it's 5 down. And the reason why is I can put my logo, and we are building a personal brand. It will be like Danny De Heck as a name, and we want a long and narrow logo that goes across the top of a website. And I've put the navigation underneath, and I've also left room for my social media on the left, and also if I want to, I can have a second tier menu. I have options to play around with. So this is the one I recommend doing. You'll run out of room. You could do this could be an alternative if your logo isn't quite right, but you can play around with those. But this is the one I'm using on this theme. Right, you got it. Now I will include in the custom theme links. This here is my phone number, and that code is quite tricky to get, and I've put that in the notes. But basically means that if you display your phone number at the top of your website, which is quite handy for people using mobile devices, 54% of people view my website on a mobile phone, they can click on my phone number and it will make it ring straight through to the phone without people having to try to remember it, if that makes sense. So that's how you create the clickable number. And also you put your phone number, your email address in there. So that's how that is. Header back, I've got nothing in there. Header styling, once again, we've got 00010. So that's going to leave a little bit of room underneath. And I have my header shadow off, 100% on. And then we've got header background color. And once again, that's the same color as my logo background. So that's where you edit that one. Archive header color. So the thing with Advata, it allows you to do as much customization needed, but keep it all in a safe area. And after you finish, you can export your settings and keep them on file. Sticky header. Now that's something I don't use, or do I? Hold on, let me have a look. I do use it, yes. And what the sticky header is when you come down the website, notice the menu at the top, it grabs on and sticks to the top. That is called the sticky header menu. So when you're setting that up, you want to basically have sticky header on for tablets as well, or mobile phones. I use it. Menu only, meaning that before we had a place to upload the logo in an area, display the logo and heading, but we on a mobile phone, on the sticky menu, I just want the menu only because it's too cluttery otherwise. And then we've got sticky header shadow on, and then I've got the sticky header background. So once again, if you go here, the background of this is dark. Now I've got a very dark theme. I like it. I think you need to pick a color and own it. So I would recommend a dark theme for a personal brand myself. But if you are using this for other website design, a good go-to color is white. Always use white. It's used by 75% of people, and it does keep it a lot easier when trying to use a theme like this. Anyway, sticky header font. So the font color, right? You got that sus. Excellent. Right, on to the next bit. We're on to the menu. All right, we can go crazy here. But the menu height, main menu height. So if we come down to here, it's asking me the height between here and my slider, and I've put 40. So 40. Okay, now we've got, yeah, so I'm just going to go through and got top bar. Next one's 3. There's our 20 padding that I was talking about. On a mobile phone, we're going to have 20. It's asking me if I want a main menu drop down. I've got that on. I've got slide on. If you're just going to copy my settings, that's fine. They work for me. If you want to play around, you will spend hours and hours and hours in here. Search icon. Now, search icon, that's a funny one, that one. So if you come down to here, you can see I've got a little wee icon at the end of my search menu. That's what that's for. If you want to display that, you can. If you have WooCommerce on, which is the shopping part of Advada, you will have a wee shopping trolley there as well if you've got room. Now, let's just scoot past all this other stuff. It's basically asking you for all the separator colors, and that I've actually made them all the same color as my background because I don't want to see them. But you can click on them here, and you can see there'll be some default ones out of the box that you can keep. All right, so the menu font. I personally like Open Sans. The backup fonts for people who don't have Open Sans installed on their computer will be Arial, and it gives you a choice of which ones you can pick. I always pick Arial. The good size for your computer would be normal 400. These are all like bolds. And the good thing about this program, see how it changes the font so you get an idea what it looks like, whether you want italics, but just trust me, keep it normal and it's going to look great on a mobile phone. The font height will probably already be 15 and so forth. And then you come down here and it's got the main menu drop down font. Mine's 13 pixels and also the navigation font is 15. So what's that mean? Come here, I hold my mouse over blog and notice the font is smaller, and that's why. And I've also capitalized these manually, and here they're smaller so they fit in. And some of my menus are actually quite large, as you can see, but I have 1,000 blogs to navigate through. Right, next one is Flyout Menu. Don't use it myself, and nor should you, in my opinion. Secondary top menu, you probably won't use this. That is the real estate on the top right hand side. I took mine out because it didn't look good on a mobile phone, so I wouldn't recommend using that unless you're hell bent or you want people to scroll on a mobile phone. Mobile menu, I use the classic version in case you're wondering. Have a look on a mobile phone. I think it's beautiful. It's asking me for the heights, and then down here it's got all the color scheme, and once again you can pick the font that you use. Now I've actually noticed that that font isn't the one that I normally use, and that is probably because it's not available, which is quite a hard case. Or is it available? I might look at that later on. But if you want to, say like if you want to use a different font, you can go open, there it is, Open Sans, and the weight be 400, and the font color. So on a mobile phone, it's going to use this font. I was actually using one of the fonts that I had installed that matched my logo font. So then once you've done that, you actually want to hit save, and that will lock that in. Alrighty, that section is saved. And now I'm going to go to the mega menu, 100% width, 100%, and I don't think you'll ever use a mega menu. A lot of these settings you probably won't use unless you get a really big commercial site like mine going. But I just want you to see my settings so that you can pause this if need be. We've done the logos already, and now we've got page title, and I've got show, bar, and content. So what does that mean? That means that when you come in here and you click on business, I've turned it off for the home page, but it will come through hopefully one day soon. Okay, so it's got, here's what did I do that for? Longest video in the world, and I'm already stuffing it up. Let's go that way. Take a breather. Okay, it's been naughty. Right, don't click. Alright, so see it's got the word business in here. That's what that does. It's got words over here as well. So that enables breadcrumbs, and it's good for SEO to have breadcrumbs, so you want that on there. It asks you how high you want them, it asks you what color you want them, it asks you what font size you want in there, and also the spacing between the words, and every part of it. So as you can see, mine was 14 and 10, and I was using, doesn't ask me what font, it must have grabbed it from another part of the website. So that's cool, that's that part. Right, breadcrumbs. I've got mine off on mobile devices. If I did have it on, it would be 12, but yeah, I've turned that off, it just gets too scrolly-wolly. Sliding bar, you don't want that. That's what I made a mistake thinking my other part was. It's hard to explain what that is, but I'm not going to show you. You don't need it. Footer. Now, this is really complex. So on the bottom of my website, you can see I have a footer. I have text. I have all my social media icons. You can do the same if you choose to. My one says, development by Danny De Heck, in association with brand photographer Helen, make decisions with Elite 6, and it's got a whole novel in there. I use that to help the SEO on my other websites and linking them all together. You won't probably need that. So here, if you want to have design by yourself and all that, you put that text in here. If you want it to look pretty, then you can actually add a background image. You might need to do that if you get clever. And in here you've got the styling, and this is where you can go crazy. For that little footer section, you can pick the font. You can pick all the when you hold your mouse over, fonts and everything, so you can go crazy in that section. I've kept my font at 12 pixels. I've also used Open Sans, and that's the font I use. And I've taken if you do want to have 60 pixels in an area like this, you can force it to be different, but the Avada theme has all these defaults, so if you take out the words and just save them, it will just go back to the default sizes that it displays here. Anyway, I hope I've still got you. Right, now sidebar. This is interesting. So in the sidebar area, that basically is these side columns that you see here. You can choose what content you display. So on a blog post, I display different content than I do on my pages of my website, and that is simply because I've got a large website. So in my case, I actually have they have defaults, and sidebar 1 is the default, and that's easy peasy, right? When you get to pages, I've chosen to make another sidebar called Pages. You can just use, where is it? Sliding bar widget 1. And then, or you can do what I do if you want, and I'll show you how to do that in another video. So you just go through all those. Portfolio, you won't be using that anyway. That's a different story another day. So in the blog post, I've decided to grab the right-hand bar called blog, and in there I'll display that. I actually will just whip into there because I can't help myself. I'm going to show you. No, I won't. I'll confuse you, and I'm already waffling on. Okay, so background for page. So in here, I've got my background of my logo color. All right, and then we've got in here we've got main content background. Alrighty, so when you're here, the main background content is white, but all the edges are dark. So that's where that applies. So you got background. Right, now typography. Open Sans, main body. Now in here, the link color. So when you have a link on your page, what color do you want it? So here it says here, and I hold my mouse over it. So that's asking you what color you want the link on your page. But the font color, I've actually have got a nice dark charcoal, not black, but just off black. Heading. So headings, right, so you've got your H1s and your H2s and your H3s and your H4s, and you can basically set the fonts. You will find that they come default with fonts already in them. I've chosen to use Open Sans, and you're more than welcome to if you want to. Custom fonts. Now, earlier on I did accidentally have my mobile font using one of these custom fonts. If you're going to get really tricky, you can upload your own fonts. And I've got fonts for my logo, but they weren't really compatible when displaying on web browsers, so I don't use them, but I've still got them installed. Alright, so for blogging, we're going to go for a general blog. It says, what do you want your general blogs to look like? So let's go into a general blog and let's have a look. This is a general blog. It's got previous, next. It's got a featured size image, which is big. It's got words, it's got buttons, and it's asking me if I want, my categories or my tags, do I want them visible? All this sort of questions are answered in here. Page title, what do I want to call my blog? How do you want them to display? I've gone grid. If I went large, my whole website would look different, but I like grid. What grid means basically is they will be lined up like soldiers. Now, I'm a wee bit anal, so all mine are told to display like little soldiers. So that's what grid means. So you can choose the look, and you can have a timeline. If you did a blog every week, you could have a timeline. So you could tell somebody to go back to 1st of June, but go to grid. It's easy peasy. Right, when you hold your mouse over them. Now, I don't know if I even use this. You see how it went dark? That's what that does. So you can choose what the text looks like on top of it, what colour, and when you hold your mouse over it and when it hovers and all this sort of stuff, you can just go to town. I've got numbers of columns. So these are all like the defaults. The spacing's 20. So the gap between here and here is 20 pixels. Once again, archives, you just can get lost in here, but you probably, to be realistic, you don't need to do all this. Blog single post. Now these are things like I showed you before. Did you want people, do you want it to, I'm trying to find something here, author's box related comments. So do you want to be able to show comments on the bottom, yes or no? I've turned it all on because I want the website meta tag. So below title, it's asking you where all the different content is. So just look at this here. I've gone on the left, the whole way down the page of blog, I've gone on, below, and they're all to the left. So you can do the same if you like. This is the one I was looking for. They've actually upgraded it. That's why I couldn't find it. But this here asks you, do you want the author to display? Do you want the date? Do you want the categories? The answer to that is yes, you do, because I want a search engine to come and land on this page and spider through all these different tags I've done. So I'm just going to use one as an example. Customer Relationship Management is a tag I've used for this blog I've done on monday.com. It is actually creates a page called that, and it brings up any like-minded content on the same page. So as I do more and more blogs around about customer relationship management, I'll use that same tag, and it will also appear on that. It will form clusters of information. Whew, are you still with me? All right, it's a marathon. Have a break. Go get a cup of tea and pause me if you need to. Okay, portfolio, you don't need to use that. Once upon a time, I used to have a business networking company, which I still do, and I used to have a portfolio of every business on there. But that's more for website developers who want to have a portfolio of their designs, their sites that they've designed. It's a lovely, it's very similar to blogging. You might actually have a portfolio of clients that you've got, and you might want to set up a page. So you may use that, but I don't know your business. But I have used it, and I would stay away from it at the moment. And let's just get the basics done. Social media. Now, this is really cool. So I've set up all my social media. And in here, you go into Instagram, and it asks you for your Instagram account. And in other tutorials that I do, I will actually show you how to use the same branding all the way through. I mean, trust me, go out and get a nice brand, a personal brand designed by a professional. Make sure you tell them you're going to use it on social media. If you're not very good at using Photoshop, then get them to chop it all up for Google, for Instagram, and make sure all your branding is consistent all the way through. It's so important. But if you went through my social media, you'll see if we come here and we went to any of my social media, it's going to start playing a video. You'll see that my brand is consistent through all my social media. Well, that one there doesn't have a background. That one does. And
so when you hear the word
there's
dyslexia,
me talking again. In a minute, we should have a lovely background image. Come on, load up. I think you get the idea. We'll go to this one in the meantime. But see, all my branding is consistent throughout all my stuff that I do. And that is my point. So when you're setting up all your links to your social media, if you want to add one, you come down to add. There's a drop down bar, and you can go through here and find all the social media, like Twitch, for example. Now, a wee tip I will give you is I have my phone number in here, and it will automatically click through. So when you're on a mobile phone, you click on that little icon, it will automatically bring up the connection to talk through FaceTime. So it's a really cool thing. But got to make sure you do that. And also I add my email address. So how many have I got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 social medias. When I'm on a phone, they stay on one line. So you want to do the same. Don't have more than 10, and then I'll show you the size that you want them. Right, now it's got styling. So in the header, I want them 12 wide. I want them, don't worry about that, but when you hold your mouse over the words, see it pops up? It's asking me where do you want those words to pop up? At the bottom, custom colors, branded colors. So if I had branded colors, it would bring up all the icons to match like YouTube and Facebook, and it will just look awful. So I have branded colors. It's asking me for the icon color, and it's asking me if I want it boxed. So I've put no, it keeps it less cluttered. On the footer, I've gone 36. So what does that mean? It means if you scoot down to the bottom of my website, I've got these big gnarly icons along the bottom, and they're there because I've got a space to kill. So 36 is the size, and once again, custom colored, and I've picked out my color, and also it's asking me how big I want the icon, and then how much padding I want around it. So I hope that helps. Social sharing. So this is a bit more complicated. So let's go into here. We're looking at a blog, aren't we? And when we're looking at that blog, we want somebody to read it. And we'd love if they shared it. So with those settings, we come down to the end of the blog, and you'll see there's an area here that says share this story. Choose your platform. And I normally have a tagline, but here it's got all these little wee icons. And if you clicked on that, it will pop up a box. And this is why I like Advada. And it will go to my Facebook. It will go to Facebook and get it all ready for us to send to them. So that's what the social sharing icons are all about. And it's asking me which ones I want. So if I want to add a new one, I've got them all except I don't even know what that one is. So I've left that one out. It's asking me for the size. And once again, custom colors. We're all doing good. You're still with me. Slideshows. What the hell, slideshows? Let's have a look. Slideshows. Right. This is let's go back to my yep. Okay, so slideshows. So let's go to this global summit that I'm going to tomorrow. Ironically, but tomorrow you will listen to that and think, oh, that's right. That's where I heard about this. So in here, notice this is a big gnarly picture, and notice these little wee dots at the bottom. So this will automatically change and flip around. So that's what that stands for. So a slideshow is how many images could you potentially want to have a slideshow? 10. I'm only using 2 in the one I just showed you. Do you want autoplay on or off? I've turned mine on. Smooth height. So when you do use those images, if you're going to use them, you want to make sure the images that you upload are all exactly the same size. Otherwise, it's going to look like you didn't know what you're doing, and somebody's going to be reading your blog down here, and it's going to be doing this every time the image changes. So you don't want to do that. So yeah, so bear in mind, and I've got navigation box 50 by 80, and what that basically means is how big do you want that little box there. I've gone big and gnarly, so you can do that if you want. And also the arrow size 40%. We still got you with me. All right, remember you can pause me at any time. Elasticy slider. Oh, even I don't know what that one is. Elasticy slider. I think that's another slider you can have, which I don't use, so you probably won't use it. Lightroom. Right, Lightroom is if you decide to click on it, it brings up a box. I don't know if you can notice that on here, but it's now, notice how that slid back and forth? That's what Lightroom's all about, so you can choose your settings on that. You don't really need to touch anything here. Forms. Now these are something we'll have to talk through at a later stage, because forms are something I don't actually use on my website anymore. But when you've got a contact us page and you want to have a pretty little box, actually what I'll do is I will show you, because I think it's important for you to get a good understanding. I really want you to know this website inside and out. So when you go to the contact us page on the average website, you will see it loads a map. You'll need a Google API set up to do that. And down here, you will see a form. And that's where people can put their name and their email address and their subject, and they send you a message because they don't know how to use email. And then when they press submit, it figures out that they can or can't, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so this is where you set it up. So Google Capture, and I'm going to help you set these up, enable you to have keys. And V3 means that we don't want to bother the people with those little pictures of buses or lampposts or pedestrian crossing captures. It's called invisible capture, which is really cool. So if Google look at your page and all of a sudden they think that you're doing something dubious, they will poke up one of those things, are you a human? And that's what the advantage of having a V3 recapture is about, and we'll do more about that in my Google 101 course that we're doing. But in the meantime, you'll need to set up these keys. I will help you do that later on. I'll come back and do this. I'm not worried about hotspot, simply because I don't know what it is. Interesting. All right, contact template. Just like the one I just showed you, you need to put an email address in so you can get your email. And it's asking whether you want it below or above. I've put below. Google Map. If you're going to use maps, you need to go through the horrible task of setting up Google Places, and it's a dog. I'll help you do that as well. And that means when you put your address in here, it will come up with a pretty little wee map that tells people where you are actually located. But you obviously have to have Google APIs set up to do that. And also the height's 415 is the height that I've chose, so it doesn't take up the whole damn page, and looks respectable. There's other settings there. I'm just going to pause there for a bit. Zoom level 8. Took me ages to get that one right. That means I want to see something, but when people first zoom up, I don't want it to look like this, because it doesn't mean much. Or I don't really want it to look like, whoops, let's go. I don't want them to see I live on the planet Earth. That sort of style. So what that does is, by setting it to 8, get rid of that, setting it to 8, it gives it a nice sort of good version. So hopefully that saves you a bit of time. And it's asking you whether you want all the other functionality on. I don't want a pin, so I've turned that off on our particular scale. Right, where are we? Styling. Oh my goodness, you can go crazy on here. I've just left it on default. I can make it look like the theme, but I didn't like it, so I've just left it default. Right, search. Oh my goodness, what have we got here? Limit search results. Off. I don't have too much information. My website's not clogging to death. I've got classic, and I've got enable live search. Now that is pretty cool. So enable live search. I don't think Helen's got that on her website. I've got 1,000 blogs. So if I enable live search, that means that when somebody clicks on this, it brings up a search box. And if I decide that I'm just going to start searching Danny, it's going to go away and bring up anything to do with Danny in it. So if I went New Zealand, it should go away and bring up a whole lot of information in there. Oh, it did. There's a scrolly bar, and I can now go through here and see a whole lot of information. Oh, look, some forest park information, and away we go. So it's asking you a question. It's asking you enable live search or turn that off. Let the person type it and press enter, or let them see results in live. That's what live search means. Okay, live search minimum, so they've got to type in more than 4 characters before it starts bringing that up. Number of posts, I've put 10. I don't want to go crazy. If I put 100, it's going to slow the whole lot down. And there'll be some defaults. If in doubt, use the defaults and then play around when you have a problem. If you get stuck and you don't know where to go, that's also quite good. Now, privacy in New Zealand, you can have, what am I trying to say here? Actually, privacy options. privacy bar. Yeah, so I'm pretty sure this is the part where you have cookies and they pop up and you agree to use the cookies. In New Zealand, we don't have that law, so we don't need to worry about that. But if you're overseas and you're looking to set it up, I'm pretty sure if you tick that, you will have a box pop up and say that you give consent for the site to track you with cookies. So if you're using cookies, you'll need to turn that on. I don't use it because we don't have to do it legally. You may. Extras, oh my goodness, now this is where we can go crazy, but this is some important stuff. Hover, miscellaneous, nothing in here has been changed from the default, so if you know more than me, you start playing around in that area. Related posts and projects, I don't think I've changed anything in here. You're getting the whole fan wamble thingy, aren't you? Okay, so that's feature rollover. I think I showed you that before. So what that basically means, if I'm on the home page and I want it to be clever when somebody holds their mouse over it and it goes all dark grey, that's what the rollover effect is. So image rollover, I'm pretty sure I've got that right. I could be wrong. Anyway, I think you get the idea if you've fallen asleep yet. But if you're having problems with anything, just feel free to ask me and we can nut through it together. Okay, theme features. It's good to rattle these off. Enable language updates. Network, I can't even say that word. Smooth scrolling. So you can see these, and if you want to, make sure yours are the same as mine. Mega menu is something that you probably won't use, but once upon a time you had to buy a separate menu to enable mega menu. Mega menu has been good for me because I can do things like this. So if I went to destinations and I went South Island, you can see how it pops out. So that's why I use mega menus. You probably will not use them, so don't worry about that. What else can I show you in here? YouTube API scripts are on, so it's really good when you buy a theme, because you'll find if you don't buy a theme, you'll spend ages trying to figure out how to get things working. See how YouTube API scripts are already enabled, so it's something you don't have to embed into your website. You just turn it on and it's on by default. So if I was going to use Vimeo on my website, I'd need to turn that on. But most people don't use Vimeo, so they haven't turned it on. It's not rocket science. And the Google Maps scripts, so we don't have to fluff around installing bits of code. So that's what all that there is all about. And every time they update Advata, there's always new bits and pieces. So even though I'm looking at stuff here. Hey, you don't need to touch a lot of it, but I'm doing the whole video here now. Now, we've got code fields. So in here, I've got my Google Analytics code. I've got my Facebook pixel code. I've got some other domain verification code I needed to put in, so that when they spied my website, they could see I had this code in here. And this is where you basically put those bits of code. I have support on my website, so if you need to talk to me, you can come down, click on that box, and it will say, what do you need help with? And I'm going pricing. And this is called Remaze. I'm going to show you guys how to use everything if you want to do it. It will go away to my database and it will find questions and answers. This is the code for running that. So, and you can also have a chat box. You might even have a Facebook Messenger box. You put that code in that area, and that's how that works. Post types, what's that on? Even though I don't know what that is. But anyway, post types, everything's on there. Performance, I have never touched it, but hey, I could. It might make it load faster. My site does not load super fast. I've told all my images to be at 60 compression. If you don't know what JPEG is, a JPEG is a file format that you can suck the air out of and it doesn't look too bad. So when you've got ping images, they're not compressed in any which way or form, which means they're a lot larger. So if you look at a JPEG as a plastic bag and you've sucked out 40% of the air in the bag, it still looks like a bag. You can still see it's a bag. That's kind of what a good explanation of what a JPEG is. So I've told it whenever I'm uploading any image to the website, I want it to be compressed up to 60%. And that means that the images will still look sharp, and I'll save a lot of loading time. Right, and what else we've got? Lazy loading. It's interesting, that one. I don't know if you've been to those websites and you see those little things floating around as the image loads. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. There's a few other defaults that are enabled. I've never touched them, so I recommend you never touch them as well, unless you know more than me. Okay, custom CSS. If we ever need to put any custom scripts into your website, we will do so in this area. And you can see I've done some few modifications, so that's pretty cool. And the last one here, this is just a real mine. I can't say what I'm thinking now. This one here is where you do a lot of customization. So every time you add a page onto your website, so let me give you an example. Good to give you an example. So see these little wee buttons over here. They're beautiful. And this big button, it's beautiful as well. And when you go down to the bottom of the page, there's a button here. So this is where you can go through here and say, right, every time I have a button on my website, I want the default to be large. I want it to span the full width of the area. I want it to be a flat button, and I want it to be this font, and I want it to be that color. And when you put your mouse over, I want it to do this. But you can go through all these settings, check boxes, countdown timers, and you can basically change the fonts. So every time you add a separator, now I do this, funny enough, because I think I did one the other day, just to get distracted, of a video of me doing something or other. Maybe I'm getting distracted. I think I am. I'm going to show you anyway, because I can't help myself. Blog. Yeah, here it is. So the other day I did a video, and I also did, this might look busy, but this is how I roll. This is my picture. You can see that it's got alt tags on it, which is really good. So this picture here is the featured image for the post. I've also embedded a YouTube video, and I've used the same image as the cover for the video. So when people push that, away they go, and now they're watching me talk. Right, now, and here I've had to put a space between the video, and this is also the podcast. So when I do a podcast, I upload a featured image, I put a YouTube video up, and I extract the sound out of it, and I make it a podcast, and then I scribe the whole lot into text. And then, and why I do that is because, I wonder if it works, but it doesn't. But anyway, SEO is the worst thing in the world to search for. But if I search for a part of my blog, I hopefully will find it, in the search engines, because it's well optimized. So everything I'm doing, and that's what I'm trying to teach you guys, if you do it this way, I've spent years and years perfecting the art of being a mastermind at SEO, and this whole website is structured in a way not just to look beautiful, but it's structured in a way which is going to be eaten up by the search engines, and people are going to land on your brand, and they are going to find you, and that's what this whole thing is about. So the other day I did a post on a smart backpack scam, and you search for it, and come up number one in the search engines. My video comes up number one, and that's how people are going to find you if you just do it the way I recommend. How's that? So anyway, so that's basically how to set up. The other one is export. Import. We could do a dirty, and what I could do is I could give you a file of all my settings, but the only problem with that, it will pull in all my logos and everything as well. But after you've got all those settings, and you think, right, I've got it, you want to basically download the data file, and here's your data file. And if you ask me nicely, I'm more than happy to give you this file, which will basically upload all my defaults. And then and then you can basically modify the colors and switch the logos around. That could be a quicker way than watching this whole video, couldn't it? All right, so I hope you've learned something from that, and it's been a pleasure. That's probably going to be the longest video I've actually done, and I'll shut up now, and thank you for watching. I'll even play some theme music, shall we? Here we go. Play some end, because we're going to have a bit of a tune. It's good. All right, I'm going to push record. I'm going to push stop record, and any questions, remember you can actually go to my website and you can select 20, 40 or 60 and get some time, one-on-one time with me, and I can run through that and do all that stuff with you. All right, have a good night, evening.